Oh yeah, what other thing?
Yeah, what else could he have spelt out? Yeah, we're ready. And we're live. Hello and welcome to What Makes a Studio. This is the second of our live conversations with designers. I'm Tom Clark. I'm recently graduated from Kingston Product and Furniture, and I'm now working as a freelance and sort of working for myself product designer in Sussex, and I'm with the great Fred Baier, who will introduce himself.
The great Fred Baier.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm the great Fred Baier. And I've been making what I call arty-farty furniture for over 50 years. And got a bit of a reputation for it, so
Good man.
that's why I got here, got the gig.
So, Fred, what we're going to do is we're going to take questions one after each other, and we're going to sort of answer them and ask each other some questions and sort of see where the conversation goes. They're mainly around design and our practices, and then also sort of studio culture and collaboration and sort of how we work with others, or maybe how we don't.
Okay.
Maybe I'll start.
Fire away.
So the first question is, what does the word studio culture mean to you?
Well, studio culture, I think anything with the word culture in it is very difficult, isn't it, to quite know how to address it. The culture of a studio probably would be all about who is involved in the studio. So it's all about the people that are in it. But and so would the dynamic and all those other words of that nature.
And what kind of people do you like to work with then?
Well, I don't know, just people who are good fun and funny, you know, and we can have a laugh.
Yeah.
Basically, yeah, and that like the same sort of music that I do. Because if they, because if they play music that it's nice to have a little bit of background music. I suppose you could wear ear things, but then you're not in a group, are you?
No.
So if you've got the sounds on, it's awfully grating if you don't. Everybody doesn't like it.
Yeah.
They could even get the sack if they like the wrong music.
Danger zone. Okay, I'll
No.
try not to play anything bad then. Okay, well, your turn then, maybe.
Oh, my turn. Here we go. Name the 3 things from your studio that you can't live without, and why?
3 things. So, a pair of calipers would be the first thing. I've got to have a pair of calipers.
That's the ones that measure how thick things are.
Yeah. Just so you can get, because you need to be able to be accurate enough, particularly when you're working on a computer. You need to know what you're making and how you're getting it.
Would they be digital calipers?
They're not. They're analog calipers. They're Medan's
With those
calipers.
little things that divide and then...
Yeah, and you've then got to try and work up what the hell that now means as you translate it. What else do I need? A sketchbook. Always a sketchbook. Because you can't... I find I can't work or can't even think sometimes if I haven't got a pen and paper.
Mm-hmm.
Because you might be toying with a material and then you need to jump to a piece of paper and then maybe you need to jump to a piece of CAD. So, yeah, the last 2 items are pen and paper.
Pen, paper. Oh, that's 2.
That's 3. I've
Well
done
done.
it. Go on. Thanks.
Good. Your turn.
What
It's
is
almost
your...
like Cluedo, isn't it?
It is, yeah. We're going to win a prize. Okay, so there's 2 questions here. And
Colonel Mustard.
Colonel Mustard in the library.
Sitting room.
Sitting
Oh,
room.
yeah.
Okay. What's he
With
armed
a
with?
candlestick.
Candlestick.
Yeah.
What is your personal ethos and inspiration? And do you have a manifesto?
Well, I have an ongoing manifesto that has lapsed rather badly in the more recent years, but I avidly kept my manifesto tight when I was your age.
Okay.
And I had a book that was basically my manifesto, blur writing.
Okay.
About what I thought and why I thought it. Different coloured pen every day. Because I can't spell. Lovely, because nobody ever tells you spelt it wrong. And you can get a real flow going.
Yeah.
I can't do that with a computer, because if I write, it's always underlining things, telling me I haven't done it right, or because anyway, we talked about that earlier. So, what was the other part of the question?
So, do you have a manifesto? And I suppose maybe if you could could you surmise it? Is it quite a big manifesto, or have you got a kind of short, punchy version?
Well, it would probably be to try and be doing something always that is forward-looking and in some way have an aspect of new inventiveness, and as often as possible another bit of technology or another little skill set that I haven't previously quite tried.
So always playing with something new?
Trying to, yes. It's annoying because it means just as when you've learnt how to do it, you've moved on and you don't need it anymore.
What's the most recent skill you've played with or learned? Is that an evil question?
Well, yes, I've been. You know that if you're on the motorway and there's a cones all over the place, and there's a number called the cone hotline. I always used to think, there used to be, for if there's any problems with the cones falling over or that sort of thing, there's usually a phone number and it says cones hotline. And I used to always imagine that would come through to me, because I made a lot of objects with cones, because you never saw bits of furniture made with cones. And I thought, fuck, I'm going to have a go at that, and I'm going to be the cone hotline centre person.
Have you put your own number on it now?
I have done. We did it on one, nobody ever found it.
Okay, well, I'm sure we can get someone to.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay, your turn.
My turn. Where are your thoughts on the following statement?
Uh-oh.
The design world is accessible.
That's kind of a fun one. Yes, well, I think it's interesting because accessible covers quite a lot of things. So accessibility could be talking about accessibility in terms of people coming into the design world. And I certainly think in terms of sort of diversity and sort of people coming into the space, it's getting better. I would say that there are still a huge number of problems in terms of the sort of representation that exists in the design world. But I think, this exhibition in itself is sort of testament to the fact that I hope as a new generation designers and young generation designers that we're maybe questioning that or changing that. And this room is testament to sort of a diverse and amazing group of people making amazing work.
Yeah, and it's all nice and easy to understand, really.
Yeah, I hope so. And then I suppose accessibility in terms of can you use objects and can they work? I think that's getting better. I think there's a lot of place to go with it.
Do you think places like IKEA and companies of that nature, or even the big shops in town, do you think they make design more accessible? I think they're trying. I don't think they're doing a very good job, potentially. I think they could do better. I think what's interesting, you point that out, is Elia on our course, Elia Castiglione. She's done a lovely project, which if you come to the Hoxton and Arches Kingston Product and Furniture Show, open till Sunday, you can see on the table in the centre, she's done a project looking at people with special needs or physical impairments, where they can then access and make IKEA furniture. And so she's painted colours onto edges so that it's more understandable how they go together, and then also created her own set of tools that maybe IKEA could start using to make them easier to assemble, because Allen keys are fiddly buggers for anyone. So yeah, I think it's getting better, but I think there's a long way to go. At least it's been put on the table a lot more than it used to be.
Yeah, and we just got to keep having that conversation, I suppose.
Cool.
What are your thoughts on the following statement? Ooh, I like this question. Additive manufacturing is a positive future of design.
additive manufacture has a positive future for design. Of course it does. I mean, it is an amazing new-ish piece of technology, and it's becoming more and more available. But you've got to have pretty deep pockets. That's the trouble with it. You've either got to, you could have, like you, just got yourself a little printer.
I did.
600 quid.
Something like that. Yeah,
and
my first
the material isn't too expensive, so now you can make toothbrushes and you know, the odd little things like that. But if you want to do something like big scale out of some sort of like that one where they weld powder into metal again already, you know,
it's called.
to have to make anything of any size, loads and loads of money. And that thing we thought, we've been to the Oxo Tower today where there are some other things by people at the Kingston course. You'll be able to see in the Wood Awards across the street from there, a very nice couple of pieces.
Yeah.
Anyway, we saw a 3D printed two-seater chair.
We did.
That looked a little bit like a piece of knitting, and he couldn't tell me how much it would cost because I haven't quite worked it out yet, but it's taken 2 people probably a month to work out how to make that thing, and they're not going to make another one. It's not going to become like a product. That's a very expensive. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think
very
we're early
expensive.
days.
We're early days.
Right, and I think for me what's really exciting, because I'm beginning to start playing with it and start using it, I think there's an exciting opportunity as these technologies get better and they get quicker. And I mean, just walking around the Oxo Tower, the Materials Matters exhibition, you could see, compared to last year, how much more additive manufacturing was being used. So yeah, I think we're early doors, but I think it's an exciting world to get into.
I do too.
Have you got designs to play with it at all?
Well, I haven't gone there because I'm not. But I've been thinking about it, and my thoughts have gone like this. So when I'm mostly skilled at woodworking, and that's my main thing. So everything else I do, I have to buy in as a sort of subcontracted thing, which is fine. I can do lots of that. But in woodworking, when you get a piece of wood and it hits another piece of wood, you have to join those things together. And woodwork, there are all sorts of conventions for, you know, all those joints they talk about how those things go together. And people are always trying to sort of fiddle with that, because that business, it's not like metalwork where you just put the two things together and go zzz and weld it together, and you've got a strong joint that will never come out. You have to knock holes in things, pass it through a machine, make this one fit that one, get it in, then put the glue on it, and then sometimes that's this, so you have to see it there, then you've got to clamp it, you know. So it's a whole big thing. So that area where those two materials meet is ideal for 3D printing technology of a little thing. That here's this bit, oh, you just put that on the end of it, this bit goes like that, click, done. Those sorts of ideas is something that I think might work.
Right, interesting. I look forward to seeing what you might do then.
Yeah.
Okay, game on. Next one.
Should put my glasses on, but I'm too vain. What was the last thing that excited you about the design industry? The last thing?
The last thing that excited me, I suppose, joining it, right?
Right.
We've only just got here. This is the exciting bit. We've been stuck in a university for 4 years, and now it's like, oh, we're in it now, and that's terrifying and exhilarating. And so yeah, I suppose on a completely selfish level, the last thing that excited me about the design industry was getting involved with it and sort of starting the journey. I mean, we're slightly breaking format here, but what was the last thing that you got excited about?
I think probably seeing that chair that Gareth has done, and talking to the guy who was the boffin that drove the 3D printing machine.
So that was the new Raw, I think it was what they were called.
Okay.
Yeah.
And he's doing that in Rotterdam.
Mm.
Yeah. So very nice. And yeah.
Brilliant. Are designers all hoarders and collectors? I know how I feel about this.
I think a hoarder is very. I've got a mate who is a hoarder. My God, it's a problem, and I'm not allowed in his house anymore because he's so embarrassed about it. And he's got one of those houses where it's just little corridors where you get through to the next place, and it's all stuff that has potential. But it's just got away. He's gone away. He's got away from him, and he's got. I think hoarding is a clinical problem.
Okay.
So I think as long as you collect things because you find them interesting, or they're going to be referenceable, or they're going to be useful because they're bits of stuff, and you've got plenty of space, that you can organise it in such a way that it's more of a collection than a hoard, then I think I'll be happy with it.
I think I'm on the borderline.
Already, are you?
I've got, definitely slowly building a collection of things I like, and then I would describe a hoard of materials, of bits and pieces I've picked up where I've gone, I'll use that. And 3 years later, it's just sitting there still, ready to be turned into something.
Well, the thing is, if you've got a big space as well, then it's very easy to fill it up with stuff.
Yeah.
So that if you've got a problem, the thing is to keep small, stay small. Yeah. I recently went to visit a woman called Freddie Robbins. Don't know whether you know her, knitter, and they have converted a barn to live in, and it's even one of the grand designs, so you can actually go and look at it, and they've got so much space, and they collect like crazy. And their original ambition was to do a double glass wall and just put all their collections in this glass wall. And it's bigger than this building here. Anyway, but they've ended up buying those old glass-fronted shop cabinets and then building sort of not so much a whole wall, but sort of cutting off bits of the barn with their various collections.
Hi, honey.
What is it that you're collecting, and why?
Yeah.
You've got a collection of things. I'm interested for both of you.
Okay. Yeah, because I'm interested in it, because you sound like you're quite conservative on what you take in and what you don't. Because I get a sense that you're quite careful with the space, and you allow very particular things in by the sounds of things. Whereas I scavenge. So I like finding bits and pieces in skips, and sort of bits of electrics or bits of material that might turn into something. And I think maybe that's part of being a student as well, is that sort of early doors, you haven't got any cash to spend on materials, so you go out and find it. And so I suppose in some ways, some of the work that I've done, so in this exhibition I've got a lamp that's made out of reclaimed materials, which is a posh way of describing things you've blagged for free. And so that's quite important to the way I work, just on a sort of sustainability level as well as a pure economic one. Mm-hmm. But I'd be interested to know what do you allow in?
Well,
yours?
My biggest collection of things is offcuts that I can't bear to throw away, because there's so much. So, for instance, if I'm making an object where, because I make quite a lot of objects that are sort of interpenetrated pieces of geometry. So I will get one piece, and then the other one is going to. So I'll cut the slot out of this one that'll fit that one, and that piece that I've cut out will have maybe 6 or 8 facets on it, and it in itself, just the thing to hold, is quite a nice thing. And if it's a repeated thing because of the structure of the object, I'll maybe have 20 of these funny sort of shapes that have got different facets that are bound to be useful for something. I can't think what. Maybe I should give it to the Beasley brothers, and they could do something with it.
Down in SCP. Yeah, okay. I see potentially a whole range of small Fred Breyer collectibles becoming available. Game on.
Okay, here we go. What's the best studio collaborative working experience you have had?
What's the best? I can't pick out the best. The ones that work, the ones that are great, is where you're working with people that you're not just friends with, but that you have ability to communicate and I think compromise in a way that allows I'm looking at Honey because we've done so much work together, and then Joe just behind her. It's like, yeah, we've done loads of work together and it's been great, and that's because we have an ability to talk to each other often I think it might be without the fear of upsetting or insulting one another, to be able to be truthful about what you're doing and to be able to at times say, you're wrong, and pull each other back from where things have gone wrong.
Wouldn't you say then actually that it's Kingston Polytechnic, third year?
Yeah. So
that whatever your thing is, that
absolutely.
Is here,
yeah,
is your best so far.
Absolutely. I mean, it's been amazing to be able to put on this whole show with these amazing people, and to have worked for a full year on one project with a small group of people has been amazing. There have been some difficult times, but the point is we've pulled it off, and it's I think we're all very proud of it. So, what about you, Fred? What's been your best collaborative space?
Well, when I was going to come and talk about studios and that sort of thing, I counted up all the different studios that I have been being part of, and I've been part of 11 different studio scenarios. And I think, although without a doubt the last one, which is the one I'm currently in, has been the longest lasting and the most enjoyable. It's been so varied because of all the people who've passed through it. But sitting in this arch reminds me of probably about my number 7th studio space, where I was working in a railway arch underneath the Metropolitan line that goes out to Hammersmith, right near Grenfell Tower.
Wow.
And that was a great year. And we set the arch on fire by mistake. And
oddly topical.
I know, it was before Grenfell. But we stopped the Metropolitan line from running for 3 days.
And just to clarify, that was one of your best.
That was really
studio spaces. Good, good. I'm glad we've covered that. What are your personal goals for the next 5 years as a designer?
Just to keep going. That'll do. Yeah.
That'll do.
Yeah. Keep going. Keep making things. Keep having a good time with putting stuff out. Yeah.
Great. There's not like a particular thing you want to play with or a particular area you want to look at. You just want to keep going with sort of where you're at and what you're enjoying.
Keep doing some more new lovely things. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Because couldn't do without it. It'd be horrible to be one of those people who feel they have to, I don't know, retire or something. Why would you do that?
I don't see that on the
For
cards,
Fred
really.
or Tom. As a solo practitioner, how do we maintain collaborative studio and communal environments? And is it important?
I think it's important. I'm just starting out, so I don't know the answer to it. So I will cede to your wisdom. How do you do it?
Well, I mean, when you leave your environment, your sort of group environment, and you go off, it'd be very difficult, I would have thought, to get very far if you're just on your own in some place trying to do something. I must admit, I did that the very first year I went off, and I was working, I was living in the back of my van, and I was working in a room above a builder's because they had some machines, and that was just so awful. It was hardly, I didn't last at it very long. So I had to seek other people to share spaces with. But I think you can be your solo practitioner within those spaces, making your own things. So people come together to afford, really, to be able to have a studio space, but also to embrace the whole thing of being able to talk things out with people all the time about what you do and what it is and how it goes. Yeah.
So finding people and sharing spaces.
And sharing spaces, I think so, yeah.
Sounds good to me. Right, we are tearing through these. Even more exciting. Is generative design and AI good for the design industry?
Sure it is. It's only tools.
See, that's interesting because a lot of people are scared. They don't feel like it's tool. They don't feel like it's tool. They feel like it's stealing or taking away, rather than it just being a tool.
Well, they're just fucking maths numbers that are designed to do a little thing. I mean, and you can get more and more and more excited about them if you're a maths person. And I got really excited about those ones that describe complicated geometric shapes, like those when you blow one of those big bubbles with a bubble making thing and you get those weird bubbles that sort of go like that. Well, there's an algorithm that you can get that when you run it, it makes one of those do that. That's fantastic. And all of this AI is just clever algorithms that are tools to show you something. It's only going to go terribly badly wrong if it's all to do with people, I don't know, trying to make war-mongering equipment, and all that stuff that they say. It's frightening. But on the whole, I think it's brilliant.
I think I agree with you quite a lot, because to me, it's definitely a tool, and it's how we use it, and it's how people use it. The thing I'm nervous about personally, it's what I wrote my dissertation on, is the effect of these tools on employment and how many people will have jobs by the time we start using these things, because they start potentially taking things away. So I think that's going to be an interesting conversation to see played out.
Well, I don't know that the trouble with a lot of jobs, that people talk about jobs, but an awful lot of jobs these days have had the soul taken out of them because of algorithms and mathematics. Working in a bank or a building society giving people mortgages, now people are just reading off what the algorithm tells them and so they're soul destroying. So in a bit, I don't know why people will want to. Of course, you have to make a living, don't you, somehow. But it might be that the advancement of loads and loads of cottage industry will start happening, because people will just go home and start knitting and making their own thing, because there isn't a job that's worth doing. Who knows?
Yeah, I have my fingers crossed for a beautiful, universal basic income to come,
yes.
But we shall see.
We will, yeah.
Right, your turn or mine?
My turn.
You wanted that card.
What is the one thing you would like to see change within the design industry?
I think that goes back to the accessibility conversation that we had before. I think I would like to see a greater diversity of voices and people in the design world, because not only because it's what's right and what's good, but also because I think it will move the conversation forward and move the field forward in a way that will better us all in a way. I don't know. What was the question? What would you like to see in the design world?
change within the design industry.
I mean, you're running these. You're running the, and you'll correct me because I've now forgotten the name of it. You are currently running the
Art Workers Guild.
Thank you.
Yes, which is a mixed blessing, lovely thing, and it was started by William Morris, and unfortunately a lot of the people in it are still there, but moving forwards. But that's not really much about the design industry. I think one of the things that I think is unfortunate is where politics comes into the design industry. So it's rather fantastic that we, especially we have, I think it's true that Europe and possibly particularly Britain have attracted people from all around the world to go to university to learn about design, and then that's emanated, and with computers and the internet and everything, the design world has sort of become homogenized. We were talking earlier, weren't we? One of the only places where you can still say really that's have a specific look is sort of Japanese design has quite a specific look. But now that it's gone global again, then the horrible politics between why China isn't isn't quite clean on the way they behave. So now we've got to stop trusting some of the fabulous things that the Chinese students have come over here to learn how to do and have gone back there and made their businesses fantastic. We've got to feel that it's dodgy because it's probably listening to us or something. I think that's really disappointing. So I don't know how you'd change that. But
I don't.
But this is we're talking about utopia, aren't we? With these, what would be the perfect thing, and that would be take politics out of
what, and just enjoy it for
and
itself.
Just enjoy, yes, all the cross-fertilisation for itself. Yeah.
Great. What makes something worth designing?
Oh, wait a minute. Shouldn't I be asking you that? Oh no.
Do you want it? I mean,
what makes something worth designing?
Yeah.
Well, you say it first.
What makes something worth designing? Oh, you want me to answer the question?
You
cool.
Answer.
I think we've worked that out well. What makes something worth designing? I think that could be all sorts of things. If it makes you personally happy, I think that is reason enough.
We said that earlier.
We did,
yeah.
And I think, moreover, if it makes someone else happy, then that's a double win.
Yeah.
And I think that's something I strive for, is to not only enjoy the work that I'm doing, but to make something that other people will enjoy, and potentially make them happy. That's got to be the reason, certainly, that I work.
Yeah. Probably the other thing that makes something worth designing is a really good manifesto.
Yeah.
That would make something. That would make you design worthwhile designs, wouldn't it?
Do you think it's important for a designer or an artist to have a manifesto that they work to?
I think certainly you should always be thinking about why you're doing what you're doing. Yeah. And why you're doing what you're doing, and is it, where on the spectrum of, all the good, bad things, recycling, all those, what materials you're using, all of those things need to play a part in all that, don't they?
Great. I'm aware that we are running out of time, and I'm wondering maybe if we should ask if there are any audience questions, either online or from the audience itself. If there aren't, we can just go back to the pile. But if anyone's got anything to ask, I can imagine particularly Fred. There we go, hands instantly up.
I got the question.
Yeah, go on, Joe, you first.
Tom, you might be able to answer too, but I know you've worked, Fred, at least with our mate Eden, but I assume maybe with some other young people. Do you think that working with sort of cross generations of designers has any influencing the work that gets produced. I don't know if you've got any comment on how young people can learn from people who are very experienced in the industry, and likewise how people who have been around in the industry for some time can learn from younger people who are new to it.
Maybe I'll just reiterate the question for the people on the live stream. So that was, does intergenerational sort of working together where you learn from each other, if I've got that right, Joe, is that important for you and what you do?
Yeah, well, it has been, yeah. I mean, I've always been very keen to have people in my studio up until quite recently, but now I've taken my foot off the accelerator, really, and I'm not, I like going on holiday a lot more and doing other things, sharing my life more with my wife and my children, all that sort of thing. So I haven't got people, but when I did have, all the people who came in brought in all sorts of fantastic little jigs and jags that made you, although they were, some of them, you see, would come into my studio in order to give me some rent so that everything ran, because in my particular business model, which was fairly minimal, we just sort of made stuff, and when there wasn't much, when there weren't any commissions, we'd make speculative things where we'd try things out, which was more exciting. But if those extended times went on, then the graph of how much we had went so low. So some of them had to pay me some rent some of the time and make their own stuff, and some, So, and then sometimes we would all pull together, and sometimes I'd be able to show people new skills or all of that in exchange for them showing me, because although showing me about especially the latest bits of software that are available, because I am not keeping up with that at all. I mean, I did make my reputation on doing early pioneering things with the computer, but that went out the window years ago, and now it's just raced on in so many dimensions that I can't keep up with it. So, for instance, having that is great. So saying, Eden has just done my latest piece that I've been designing and modelled it all up for me in CAD, and it's on my computer, and I can't fucking read it because I haven't got a program to read it. I've got all these little files which are completely useless to me. And I'm trying to find out what shape this thing is that wraps around like this that Eden's got, and there it is in there. I don't know how to do that.
We have a question from
Great.
Which is, what's your biggest design fear and favourite thing you've made? 2 questions.
Go.
Favourite thing I've made?
And biggest design fear.
My favourite thing I've made is probably the clock that you can see in the Kingston Product and Furniture Design Show at Hoxton Arches until Saturday morning. I'm really proud of it. It was a horrifying labour of love to try and get the engineering right on that thing, and I am still slowly pottering away on it. They'll be available for sale soon. That's been great. But fear-wise, my greatest fear is, I guess, being disappointing. I am horrified that someone's going to ask me to do something or expect something from me, and I am not going to live up to their expectations, and that scares the living daylights out of me, because I suppose that's also part of being early on in my career, by which I mean 2 months. Everything feels like the most important thing ever. But yeah, I don't know. I'm interested to know what your greatest achievement and your biggest fear are. What a question, cripes.
I think my greatest achievement is not without some not without a complete partnership with my wife, who also makes things and the beautiful things, but we've managed to live a whole life and bring up 2 lovely children through this, doing this, and it's been absolutely brilliant. That's my favourite thing about it. And my worst fear is that somehow it can't keep carrying on for some reason, or for old fucking age. I've got a T-shirt that says, "It's weird to be the same age as old people." And I get so many people photographing it when I wear it, and it is weird to be an old person. Yeah.
Great. We've been given hand signals and I'm confused. Either carry it on. That was a wrap up and say goodbye. Okay. Well, this is me wrapping up and saying goodbye. Fred, thank you very much for talking to me today. Yeah. Thank you. And thank you everyone for attending in person or on live stream. We have another excellent talk tomorrow with One-to-One Collective and Joe Ryan Gill, another one of our graduates, at 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. Again, it will be live streamed and in person at Hoxton Arches. Thank you all very much for coming.